Welcome to Godly Grind. Let this moment be a reminder that you are loved, important, and created for a purpose bigger than yourself. This safe place was created to help you on your journey in your God-given purpose. Get ready to listen to entrepreneurs, learn from their stories, and apply that wisdom to your godly grind. I'm your host, Kaylin. Grab a pen because this is about to be good. I'm excited to have you on. Welcome to Godly Grind. This is a place where we talk to entrepreneurs and see exactly how God fits into their lives, into their purpose, and into their journey. Mm-hmm. So today I have one of my faves, one of my friends. I'm a little biased. Yes, I have Autumn. Thank you for joining me today, Autumn.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Of course. Now, Miss Autumn, we talk to entrepreneurs. Mm-hmm. Right? So what do you do exactly?
Well, right now I do work, of course, but I did have, and I know you kind of want to talk about this a little bit too. I do have like a fitness page, that I made, just kind of more so to be like inspirational and even to be motivated by other pages and people, because I know how hard it can be to like be in a fitness journey and like stay motivated, and you get bored with what you're doing and you want to spice it up and find other workouts or whatever. I got the fitness Instagram, so I share like meals or even workout routines or certain things you can just add to your workouts, whatever, or just try out. And then I do work. I do have a full-time job that I work, and I'm working from home. So basically what I do is just like title review for companies that are people that are doing refinances for their mortgages and stuff like that. So just looking over titles and discrepancies and things like that, pointing out things and making sure everything matches up and everything's good. So yeah, that's what I do. And I also like to make candles on the side.
Yeah.
A candle,
Yeah.
I mean, it's not really a business, but it's just more of a hobby. It could be a business, but
it can be easily. Yeah, definitely. So wait, what got you into the fitness journey per se? Because me, I tried, then I stopped, then I tried, then I stopped.
But that's normal, and that is something that I've been dealing with for so long. And that's like what people, and that's even like just in anything really, like any type of journey, you're gonna kind of stop a little bit and then keep going. But that journey, I started that in 2018. It was like August of 2018. And the whole motivation was that I was unhealthy. Like I was eating whatever, I was blowing up and not really like realizing it, because you look at yourself every day, but you see people and they're like, oh, you didn't gain some weight. It's not always the nicest thing to say, but people do that. So I got unhappy with just myself, how my clothes were fitting, how I felt in my clothes, how I felt being around other people, just not being confident, feeling or even being happy with how I'm looking. August 1st, 2018 is when I decided to go on this fitness journey. And I'm like, okay, I have to do this because like nobody's going to do it for me. My life. And it's not even just about, getting skinny or whatever. It's, being healthy. You ultimately want to be healthy. You want to live a long life. You don't want to have, different diseases or things like that come from because it could run in your family, you don't know. So I just wanted to get healthy, and I started off that first. I knew it was going to be hard, but I got into intermittent fasting, which is like a fasting period where you only eat during a certain time. So say like I'm doing it now, but I would only eat, let's say I only eat between 2 and 4 p.m. or whatever your window is. It can be up to like 8 hours, 6 hours, whatever. But then you fast until the next day. So say I'm fasting from 5 p.m. till tomorrow at 1 p.m. And then that's when I eat or whatever, which helps with fat burning. So if you work out fasted, you're burning stored fat because your body doesn't have any food to burn off. So it's taking the stored fat and burning that, which is what you want. But yeah, I got into that and I just gave up. Like I went cold turkey. I just gave up everything, like sweets. I wasn't drinking nothing but water. I wasn't, eating out, all of that type of stuff. So the weight just started coming off and I was working out. I was just being committed to like, okay, like where can I be if I'm consistent? Instead of like, let me stop this and then, because I'm not seeing results in a week. You got to be consistent. So that's how that journey started.
So you said you did the say it one more time.
Intermittent fasting.
Intermittent, yes, intermittent fasting to help you stay consistent, right? On the health.
It was that, and it was like at the time I kind of was struggling too with eating. So when you do intermittent fasting, it's harder to overeat because you're eating, say you want to fast, like lately I've been doing a lot of hours, so like 23 hours, sometimes 20, but like if I'm doing a 20-hour fast, I'm not eating for 20 hours. So now I have this 4-hour window from, let's say, 1 to whatever to eat. I'm not gonna spiral in. Like if I'm eating all day, then I can eat so much because it's throughout the whole day. But if it's like I only got 4 hours to eat, by the time I eat that first meal, I'm going to be full. So I'm not really probably even going to want anything else. So that helps, because I was struggling with like overeating. I would eat just because I was bored, or I was watching something, and stuff like that. So yeah, that helped with me not eating so much. So it helped with like cutting down on my portions and how much I was actually taking in. But it also helped with the fat burning part, which I would work out fasted. So I was always burning the stored fat, which works. And I got down about 30 pounds in like 3 months. So yeah. And but like you said, like you struggle to stay on that journey. I struggled. I lost that weight. I gained some of it back, and you go through that process again because you don't want to deprive yourself of things either, because that was something that was hard too, because it's like you don't want to just go cold turkey. You can ease yourself off of stuff or have stuff in moderation because you don't want to binge after because you didn't have any of that stuff. So that's like something that's very important, because I've done that. Like, oh, I can't have chocolate. I ain't had chocolate in 2 months. And then when you eat chocolate, you just go overboard.
That's where I'm at right now. Well, I'm on a diet like Monday through Friday. Well, Monday through Saturday, no candy, no chips, no. I still do juice, like 100% real juice. But on Sunday, that's like my cheat day. Girl, I ate like a bag of candy last week on Sunday, like literally overindulged. So I completely understand what you're saying when you say.
I have to look at it as a diet though, because I think that's where we kind of trick our mind. Like,
yeah,
you think about what you can't have when you say a diet.
Right. So more so lifestyle.
So think about it. Yeah, like think about what you I'm just cutting back on this right now, but you still having stuff in moderation. So you say you have your day where you eat what but the overindulge, it does happen sometimes. So yeah,
Human
it's a lifestyle thing.
Definitely. Okay. Well, since you've been on this journey for a little bit, how does God fit into the picture?
How does God fit into like fitness?
Yeah,
God fits into everything. But no, so like so like when I first started the journey that I was talking about, like in 2018, around that time, I was for one, I was trying to get better spiritually and getting closer to God. So I was like in the place, like when I started this journey, it helped me because I would go to the park, and like it was this park that I would go to, and it has a track, like an outdoor track, but you walk around it once. It's not really a track, it's like a path, but it's a mile. So I would do like 4 to 5 miles, and I would have my headphones in, and I would listen to, Pastor Mike. I would listen to Pastor Mike podcast. And that's when I first started learning about him. That's when I found him, and I was like, okay. So I would listen to that while I was working out, like while I was running. And it just kind of like, I don't know, kind of how like music gives you that pump when you're working out. That's what it felt like.
Music like a whole different beast, I feel like.
I said it depends on what you're listening to though.
No, real talk. Yes, all types of music could do all types of things. Like, angry, all that type of music can make you real angry. Other music, help build that soul, renew the soul, or just renew you, period.
Yeah. So like, for sure. Yeah, like the track and like listening to podcasts, it kind of like brought me to like a place of like, okay, I'm out here, I'm walking, I'm seeing nature, out here, being active, moving my body, listening to the word. I'm grateful to be in the space that I'm in, I'm out here witnessing the beautiful nature. God created all of this, and I'm able to move my body, because there are people, you don't have to be grateful for what you have. There are people that can't walk outside. There's people, for a lot of different reasons. So just like feeling grateful, just I can move my body, I can do this, my body can do this for me. My body, ultimately, it does a lot of things for me. It keeps me safe, as far as like fighting off disease. And I can, like the things that we don't realize are like so important. Like even with like the fitness journey, it's like, you can lose the weight. Your body can do it for you.
Yeah,
You
that's
just have to
sure.
move it. You just have to move it.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like it's the simple things. Like when you said like you were looking at nature and you like, oh my goodness, like God is amazing. He made all this, right? Like, girl, I'm driving in the car one day, and I'm like, man, thank you, God, for this car. Cause like I'm seeing people at the bus stop. You know, I used to take the bus in college, seeing people at the bus stop. I'm just like, man, I'm just so glad I didn't have to take the bus in Detroit. Like, yo,
Yeah.
that's a blessing.
Yeah, that's a lot of things. Like I got an episode on that too, like paying attention to like your little blessings, because those you kind of overlook sometimes because you're waiting on a big thing, and it's like, okay, but you woke up this morning.
Hey,
That was one.
okay,
Like,
okay, yeah,
you know
yeah.
what I'm saying? Like you got your car didn't stop on you. You know what I'm saying? Like it's just a lot of little stuff. Even like you said, like driving in the car. Thank you for this car. Like the car before the car I have right now, I didn't have
Yeah.
heat in that car. Okay. And in the winter, I was driving to work, hands dang on near frostbit with gloves on. Like, I'm grateful.
Yeah.
I got a car. It may not be new, but it got heat. I can ride, ain't no problem. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like just little stuff. We always think like, oh, I want this new car though. But be grateful that you have something that runs. God, He gave you that. Work with it. And
Treat it as if it was a blessing. You know what I'm saying? And don't try to just gloss over. Oh yeah, I talked about that in one of my episodes. What episode? Tell us all about it, girl.
Okay, so I have a podcast and it's called
Yeah.
All right, so I have a podcast and it's called For Such a Time, and it is on basically everything you can listen to podcasts on. So it's on Apple Podcasts, it's on Spotify, and some other ones. If you search it up, you'll be able to see. It's on Anchor too. If you go there, you'll see all the different places it's on. But the podcast is just about just sharing the news, sharing the gospel, just speaking about God, getting other people to get to know God, sharing experiences from myself. I'm not perfect, and that's one thing that I say on every episode. I'm not perfect. It's just things that I've went through, or like maybe some, if somebody would have told me this, I would have approached it differently or seen it differently. So that's what I try to do for people, is like, okay, I'm putting myself out here, I've done this or whatever, but I realized this and I saw that God was in this here. So you might be going through something that's similar and be like, okay, I'm not alone, God is here for me, when you might be feeling your lowest, because I've had those points too. So it's just to motivate and encourage and to just bring people closer to God, because that's ultimately what He wants us to do. He wants us to spread the news, and He wants us to go and make disciples. So
definitely expand his kingdom as well. Yeah, so I'm super excited about that. I feel like Christianity and religion is a walk anyways, so a walk, you're one place here, but then you might be a whole nother place in a couple of weeks. But that's just because you're learning things, you're applying that knowledge, and trying new things in different ways. So definitely. So that's cool. You're very human, because I do feel like people think Christians are God. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's very interesting, because they do, but like I learned a lot. Some people do go in having a certain perception about something because of what they've heard, what they've experienced from a certain church or a certain person or whatever, but it's deeper than what you think.
Absolutely. So how did you get your start in God? Who introduced you to Christianity? Tell us the story.
So introduced me to Christianity. Well, I was raised in the church I'm 24, since I was a baby. So I was born into a church. I went to a church called Holy Prayer Way on Shane in Detroit. It was a small family church. My great grandmother, the pastor and bishop of the church, she knew them. She basically brought my whole family there. So she like raised her kids up in the church. They raised their kids, like that. So that's on my mom's side. And so my mom went there ever since, my grandmother brought everybody to this church. So that was our church. And I was raised in that church. My mom has always been close to God. She's always, instilled in me to be close to God, to pray, to read the word. Even, when we are kids, we don't understand what we're reading sometimes or what we're hearing. She would still like, say my prayers with me and try to read things to me, and, just you know, like they say, train a child up in the way that they should go. And when they are older, they will not depart. Sometimes they depart, but they come back, you know, because they know what was put down in them. So, so that's what that was for me. My mom introduced me, my mom's side for sure. My grandmothers introduced me to Christianity. So I grew up in a church, and I went to that church up until both my pastor and my bishop ended up passing away in like 2013. 2012 and 2013. So that was the end of church basically, because there was nobody to run it and everything like that. But yeah, I will say, like, it was definitely an interesting experience because I was so used to that environment, because it was like I knew everybody, you know, like it kind of like, I don't know I can't think of the word, but like I grew up in this church. I knew everybody in this church, from deacons that weren't related to me or whatever the case may be. Most of it was like my cousins, my uncles and aunts and whoever, but my pastor and my bishop were like grandparents to me. And to my mom, they were like, you know, mentors. So they would watch me when she needed to be, you know, at work or whatever, spend the night at their house, whatever the case may be. But yeah, so that's where I got my foundation of Christianity. Even staying with them, sometimes they would, you know, like have me reading or like just talking to me when I was younger. Like if my mom was at work and I'd just be at their house, like, you know, they would just do what they do because they're pastors and bishops. So they would just talk to me, you know, talk about the word and ask me what I think about certain things, or, you know, just trying to get my mind going.
In your church, you know how every church is different. Every climate and every culture of church is different. So what was your church culture? Was it small? Was it tight knit? Was it, you know?
So that church was very small, and I will say tight knit. So like if you went there every Sunday and you went this one particular Sunday, and you would know if somebody was there that you never saw before, because you're just like, wait, who was that? You know, because it was just like family mostly. Like, yeah, like it would be certain people that were there, like, oh, sister such and such, you know, they've been, you know, they're a friend of the family and they've been around for so long. You were just so used to them. So you would kind of include them as family. But it was very small, very tight knit. My grandmother was the mother of the church. And yeah, so it was just like mostly family. It wasn't really too many outsiders. We would do like revivals and collaborations with another church, which was kind of like family too. Not really, but it was like we were around them often. Like we collaborated a lot. So it was like we were so used to being around them. But yeah, so it was very tight, you know, close and tight knit for sure.
Got you. Okay.
Harder now for me, because trying to find another church is like, but where I came from, I knew everybody, and I can't just go into a church and know everybody. So yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. It sounds like your church was really good in nurturing you in Christianity and the religion, for sure. Were the behaviors of the people in the church, did that ever sway you in your belief in God and in Christianity?
The behaviors of the people in church. Not really.
Because I hear a lot of people when I'm, you know, just talking to people about Christianity, you know, they know I'm a Christian. They say, yeah, I don't go to church because, you know, church people are this, church people are that. Like, so they rather not go to church because they think the church folk aren't a good representation of who God is. But is that even fair?
I feel like, yeah, I can see that point of view. Yeah. But like you said, that's not fair for me to look at you and say, well, Kaylin, she does this and, you know, she goes to church, so I'm just not going to associate myself with God because of what Kaylin does.
Right.
Because that's not fair. But at the same time, we do want to be people that I need to look at Kaylin and be like, Kaylin is just, you know, you're so blessed and you're doing this and you're doing that. You know, God is really working in her life. That's the type of, I want to look at you like that instead of like, oh, well, Kaylin, you know, and it's like, yeah, some people in the church do things that they aren't supposed to do, or, you know, we mess up, but at the same time, we're all human. And God knew we were going to mess up. And that is what's so good about God, is that he has grace for that. As long as you go to him and you repent, then there's grace, you know. So we don't want to look at people and
as if they are.
Yeah,
God.
we don't want to look at that and be like, okay, well, if that's what God is, I don't want any part, you know, because that's not an accurate representation. If you want to look at God, then you can look at what Jesus did. And then you can decide because
Right, right,
that's the person you can look at and say, okay, that's a model of God.
right.
We're not, we aim to be, but we're not, you know, perfect. Yeah, and I can see that because I've looked at, you know, going to different churches ever since my church was, you know, closed or whatever, like, oh, but you know, I don't want to, because this is like I came from, I don't want to go to a new church and be judged. I don't want to go. And another big part for me was that I don't want to go and not be able to have like an intimate relationship with my pastor and bishop because I had that, you know what I mean? Like if I wanted to call them, I could. Or if I, you know, I could go over their house, but to be in a church where I feel like, oh, the pastor doesn't even know I exist, doesn't know my name, you know, that was kind of my fear more so than worrying about the people in the church. It was more so like, oh, I'm not, you know, am I going to have that connection that I had before at a church? Or you know, is it going to be like I'm just here on the back row, I get my word and I go home and I'm, you know.
I truly believe in community. I feel like we need to have godly community around us to, you know, sharpen our tools and things of that nature. So why do you feel like that connection is important? Because you just said that, you know, you want that in a church home or church family. So why is that connection so important to you to be so connected to the pastor, you said, right?
Right, like just to have like to be connected with people in general in the church. But yeah, I think like because like where I came from, like I said, I literally, you know, could my mother, like my pastor, my bishop would come over. They would like my mom got a new house. They would anoint the house. They would pray over it, you know, like pray over her car, if
Yeah.
anything. Like that's just how they were, you
Yeah.
know what I'm saying? They were married for 50 something years to each other. And it's just like beautiful.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like I would like to be, you know, like to feel like I have some type of where I can reach you, you know, even if it's just after service, I could walk up to you and just talk to you for a second, you know, instead of it being like, okay, well, this is this big mega church and you know, they don't even know I go here, you know, you know, I would like to have some type of connection. I feel like that's important because like you said, community is important. And if I don't, you know, some people have pastors and bishops for mentors and things like that. So it's like, some people need that for that reason, like, oh, I, you know, depending upon your situation and what you've been through and everything like that too. But I do feel like that to have that guidance, you know, even though I come hear the word and everything, but to have, you know, even if I had a question about something, or if I just wanted to talk something over, if I didn't understand something, just having people in the church, like even if it's a Bible study group or if it's, you know, whatever activity you're involved in, or, you know, just talking to the pastor for a second before church is out. Like, I feel like that's important and it helps people in their walk, you know, instead of just feeling like, oh, I got the word today, I'm gonna go home, but I don't really understand, or I don't have anybody I can reach out to that can explain this or talk over this with me, you know, or anybody that really reads the Bible, because that, you know, some people feel like, oh, I believe in God, but I don't read the Bible, you know, or I don't believe in the Bible as well. So it's like to have people to, you know, that understand fully, you know, or
Yeah.
in the same space as you or seeking the same thing as you. I feel like that's really important. Like you said, like community is very important.
Definitely. And just having that wise counsel. It sounds
Mhm.
like that's where you're headed and going, having those mentors to help you through hard challenges, you know, here on earth, you know, because of course answers are in the Bible, but I do feel like people or God chooses people to talk through when he wants to, you know. So
For sure.
for sure, I agree completely. Okay. So I think the biggest question is finish the sentence. Are you ready? Jesus is
Everything. Say everything. Because it's honestly the truth. He's everything. He's love. I mean, he's everything. He's love, he's grace, he's mercy, he's everything. Like anything that you need, that's where it's at.
Got it. Period. Well, thank you, Autumn.
Mhm.
Thank you. Thank you for the book suggestion. Thank you for coming on today. Thank you for sharing your wisdom.
No
If you got
problem.
any questions about this podcast, please, you can DM me or you can DM Autumn. We would love to point you to some resources because we aren't perfect. One, I don't know everything about God, Jesus, right? I'm continuing my walk in faith and learning as much as I can and trying to help people while I'm on my way. So yeah, shoot us a message. We'll love to talk to you. And I love you, Autumn.
All right, love you too, girl. Thank you.
Appreciate you.
It was fun.
It was fun. So we're signing out. Thank you guys. See you in the next episode. Love you. Bye. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. It was super exciting learning about fitness, faith, how they intermingle, and also Autumn's experience in church. Next week, we are going to be talking with Autumn about all of the misconceptions of God and Jesus. We're going to identify who Jesus really is. I'm super excited to highlight that Jesus is grace, he's compassion, he's love. He's not a God that just wants to send everybody to hell. Tune in next week. It's going to be a doozy.